I've done something risky today, guys. I've clicked on a Beastie versus Recon game. We might be here a while. Hopefully not, actually, because we've got some aggressive civs. Recon's going to be taking the field with the Delhi in the purple. And then to his north is going to be something I rarely get to say in the last 2 to 3 months of gameplay. Actually, longer than that. It's a French pick. And it's in the hands of Beastie playing the teal. French versus Delhi is an interesting matchup, actually. I think it's one that, Delhi typically are seen to be favored in, but there is an opportunity for French to outplay. I think a lot of it comes down to the multi-TC approach. The interesting thing is the Jeanne D'Arc Delhi matchup is oppressive. Like, Jeanne destroys in that matchup. The difference there is that Delhi have expensive units that feed Jeanne too much. Jeanne doesn't exist here. But the eco-inflation does. And I'm wondering if that's going to be good enough for the French. Looking at the spawn, this could easily be a 2TC type game where you just smuggle your TC in the corner and then wall it off and then just roam with knights. Now, one thing that makes me quite like French actually up against Delhi is the fact that they force an undesirable beginning for Delhi, actually. Delhi players typically will not open with stables, which is a really big deal. If you want to look for matchups where the Delhi struggle, look for any matchup where they have to drop something other than stables first. It feels bad to have to do because Ghazi are so powerful. This is a matchup where 9 times out of 10, a Delhi player will go Spearman first, and the final 1 out of 10, they'll die to the initial knights. It's that harsh. There is still an issue as the game goes on, though, and that's, of course, going to be these sacred sites. I'm hoping this is a game where Beastie considers the second TC, because I think the timing can be good enough that you can kind of block out this threat on a delay, right? You can come and address these sacred sites later. Especially considering that a lot of Delhi players right now don't like to wooden wall all the sacred sites, as it takes way too long and way too much resource out of the early game. And will Beastie Shemba it up? I think if he does a Shemba, it is a sham. And he agrees. Let's just say Beastie's tried Chamber of Commerce a few times recently, and I'm pretty sure his win rate rivet in the last few months is 0%. That's not the harshest thing to say, considering I feel like most players are struggling to use French well, even with SOC. But said it before, say it again, Chamber of Commerce is crap. Chamber of Commerce may be... Its top 3 landmarks in the game most need a rework, I would say. It's that bad. Like, any time I see it, even on maps where it looks like it makes sense, like Frizzy Marshes, I still shake my head and think, man, School of Cavalry would have been better here. So yeah, it's a very tough to justify landmark. Trying to think what landmarks are worse right now in my head. I've been over this before with a few of them. It possibly is the single worst feudal age landmark. Is there one I'm forgetting, chat? Ottomans is fine. Delhi's is fine. No, I'm standing with that. I think, unless I've forgotten about something, Cock is the worst one. Tower of Victory, on the other hand, quite easily a top 3 feudal age landmark. This thing is insanely good. There isn't many landmarks in the game that feel better than this. The permanent attack speed gives you so much scalability in the late game as well. Let's check on the sheep hauls, though. How do things go? So it looks like 12 sheep versus 11. So BC actually got a pretty good haul here. We're not seeing an immediate move out of stone. If it does come, it's going to be on a delay. The reason is he needs to get knights first, because he knows that Recon has the ability to surge with Delhi, and you need to keep your opponent kind of boxed in to begin with. And that's what this should do. Like, so far, Recon hasn't dropped the racks, but if he's scouting out now the gold gathering, he should understand the requirement for it. No dome, 2 scouts, pro scouts? Oh, no. What a shame that we aren't seeing that particular... Pay, please. Get back to doing Byzantine pro scouts. We've been over this. Get the win, send me the recording. I'm telling you guys, Byzantine pro scouts with Hippodrome's the way. Because if you have Hippodrome, you have Triumph. And if you have Triumph, you have 5 times more damage on your scouts. Boom. Wait, did he cancel or was that torched? I think he cancelled. Okay. So it looks like Recon was trying to get cheeky. He's going to have to get racks now. That's unfortunate. Yeah, so if Recon had got that wall up, I actually think he would have committed stables because there's less attack routes. Now it has to be racks. And unfortunately, you waited. So the first knight is going to be here before you have any spearmen to defend you. And he's going to die straight away. Yeah, I don't blame him for this either. Recon has to queue up Textiles. Textiles is broken on Delhi, by the way. I actually think this needs to be nerfed. Look at that. 20 seconds. So you sacrifice the villager, but unlike every other civ, you don't pay 150 resources. Considering the balance point of Delhi's meant to be they get their techs for free, but on average it takes longer unless you commit scholars into it, I found it really dumb that with just 2 scholars, you get textiles at the same speed as every other civ. Only you save 150 resources doing so. Makes it quite the no-brainer in practically every game. Good micro so far by Recon. BC not even able to hang around for a single strike. Behind this, I would maybe expect some stone gathering at this point because you're forcing quite a few spears from your opponent, but looks like Beastie's got a different idea. I think he's planning an all-in, which means we'll be looking at double archer range soon. Blacksmiths to begin with, not a bad choice here. If you outnumber the spearmen, then the knight's going to attack them, and that +1 damage might not sound like a lot, but actually does make a difference. Looks like berry gathering has been put on a pause. So with 11 sheep, Recon should be able to survive underneath his TC for a few minutes. The question mark is now whether BC wants to stick everything into attack or if he wants some scalability. Because right now, he has 0 scalability. This is all about an all-in timing. Which is interesting if you think about it, because that basically means that you're forcing the Delhi to just be a normie civ. Right? At that point, the only advantage Delhi have is the free techs and the fact that they have an increased attack speed on infantry. Right? They don't have anything else going for them. I.e., they do not have 125 gold a minute per sacred site. Which is a pretty big hit at this stage in the game, actually. And meanwhile, on the other side, the French may not get free techs, but they get a 30% discount, and they gradually get more villages. So this is a very smart approach by Beastie. I thought maybe try to sneak a second TC, because I feel like I've seen a few players trying that recently with Delhi, because it's very hard to match this timing. But I think a few small errors has cost Recon dearly here. The wall being very delayed on its timing going up, the racks being slower than I would have expected, actually, considering you want to go Spearman. And then the fact that he's gone back Ghazi, it's not the worst of choices, but you're not playing into the S tier unit in Feudal because of that, right? Like, archers are considered to be the best thing to get in Feudal if you can get away with it. Because when you mass them, in these fights, choke points don't matter to them. And considering you're a defensive player right now, I would have recommended archers over Ghazi. Ghazi only makes sense if you're attacking. So what I'm hoping we'll see from Recon is in the next minute, these Ghazi are going to come out. 5 or 6 of them are going to roam. They're going to look to snipe eco, which is a really good timing because around 10 minutes, the French players should be out on extensions, right? Like over here on the deer. Oh, but Recon won't know about it. Yeah, please queue up a scout straight away. You can't play this matchup blind because if you do, your Ghazi are going to run into knights unexpectedly. And if those knights will get their charges off and a follow-up strike, all of a sudden, you're going to lose a quarter of your HP, if not more. And they will get a follow-up strike most situations, because remember, the way that knights work is the lance charge has a very low attack speed, so the follow-up attack only takes half a second to occur. Which is nuts when you think about it, because that with the increased damage from the charge, you get lance charge, your damage with sword will go up to 24, I believe it is. So you're doing 54 damage in half a second. I shouldn't say it like that, because I can already see the comments, oh my god, knights are OP. I feel like knights are in a reasonable position now. The early days, they were kind of absurd, but good balance changes. Like, in a lot of cases, most players feel like spearmen are too quick now. It's very easy to get caught all the time. I think that's also how most knight pickers are feeling right now with how good HRE are on the ladder. Recon finally getting out on the map like we want, the Ghazi. However, we are now 9.5 minutes into the game, and I don't see how he captures sacred sites. Not with the knight count as it is. He needs to force a fight first before he goes for his economy. Don't let Crackety hear you say feudal knights are okay. Dude, he plays China. All he knows is building spearmen until Imperial Age. Also, he plays a civ that can just win with infantry right now in feudal. Looking at you, Byzantine pickers. Oh, interesting. Recon's reacting to this attack with the knights. Quite dangerous. I'd rather see him just go into the base because he's going to run out of time at this rate. Beastie's now going with the walls. So he went for that wall that we talked about to keep the deer safe. Didn't go for a second TC, and you know what? I actually think it was the right choice. I was thinking in a greedy fashion. Would have been a mistake. By going for the Knights and then just playing pocket ecos, what he's essentially done is force Recon to remain defensive for 10.5 minutes. You do not see Delhi playing defensive this much for this long. It's pretty much unheard of unless they're going Castle Age. But we can see this is not a castle build, right? This is just Recon struggling to find a way out. Well, BC looking for the easy way in. Unfortunately, the outposts are already in position, so Recon was responsible with his extension. And walls are coming up. In fact, the timing might be perfect here to trap Beastie. It's important that he sees this and immediately turns around. If Recon goes for a line formation, a lot of damage can be done here. And the wall's going to be up just in the nick of time. Cancels the end. And it means the Beastie now has to run around. And the question mark is, has he got more spears coming? He should be converging right now. This is a big pinch. Beastie trying to navigate his way out. Ghazi are mirroring the move. They get the body blocks in. They can actually trap targets here. Corralling him like a sheepdog. And it's time to send the lambs to the slaughter. Oh, he's getting crafty with this. But there's no denying it now. There's no getting these knights out. As long as Recon doesn't miss micro, the Ghazi are just going to body block. Tries to wrap around again. One knight goes down. This is a really good micro from Recon. I think that might have been the one slip up, giving away in. And I love that. You see that charge? BC just tried to use that to get away. Does strike one or two villagers on the way out. But a lot of damage now being done. And the Ghazi should be able to chase this down and kill off the remaining knights. Remember, Ghazi move quicker, so there's no getting out. Okay, that was sick. And that was very important because at this stage in the game, things were getting a bit worrisome. All of a sudden, losing half your knights, the Ghazi count this big, Recon should be able to start moving out for sacred sites. Well, if you want to catch the French games, guys, you got to make sure you tune in at all times. You never know when they're going to appear, all right? It's like, you know when you're watching one of those movies, it's like, when you see the very rare thing, make sure you scan it so you get a free reward. It's like that. You never know when France is going to come out. I think France is going to struggle to come out of this game now. Knights are still trying to roam, but there's not many of them left. Scholars are now being pulled. So Recon, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets greedy and goes double Sacred Site here. Looks like he's going to be quite controlled about his approach here. Just one Sacred Site at a time. He does need to start finding some raids in soon, though. His Ghazi count is insanely high. But now, because you just took that win against the Knights, Beastie's going to have to build spears. This can be a good or a bad thing. You've got a lot of Ghazi right now. That's what makes it a bad thing. The good thing is long-term. If this turns into an infantry war, French will never win that. You need to be 10 to 15 eco ahead. Because the attack speed on the spearmen and archers is way too good for the Delhi. And, oh, Recon, he gets him! Pinches him in. Just about misses grabbing 3 knights. We'll settle for 1 and a second one done at the end. This game's getting shaky now. Beastie is going to have to take a fight that I don't think he wants to. Spearman count isn't even double digits yet. He's up against 22 Ghazis. Recon. Gotta be careful. Spearmen reveal themselves to the archers. Ghazi can commit in. Knights going to try to stand their ground, but this is way too many Ghazi. A few of them are going to link around the back. Spear count isn't exactly high here. Ghazi count has been diminished, though. Only 8 of them left over. And Recon, where the hell are the rest? Oh my god, learn to rally! No! Recon's army should have been bigger there, but he was holding them back. You've got to be kidding me. The rally point was way too defensive from Recon at this stage. Like, he has control of the map now, and he's still just rallying troops in his base for safety. Second wave Ghazi is going to come out. They are going to leak over. Now, this is a lot of archers against Ghazi. This is a really good fight for Recon. In fact, it's crazy to think if he'd had the troops here earlier, how much more one-sided this would have been. Spearman just chasing forward. Knights aren't lasting long, and despite that mishap, Recon is looking like he's ready to take control of the game. Even the Spearmen are adding a lot of damage in here with the attack speed buffer. Another Knight gets pinched. Archer count is getting low. Ghazi, just enough of them left over here. And I'm starting to feel like this game is getting out of hand for Beastie. The crazy thing is Recon is doing this without having any sacred sites. I think that proves the point about how good Ghazi are. However, Recon does need to up the ante on his archer count, because that is way too low right now. Skulls also were not capturing sacred sites this entire time. And Beastie does almost have a 10 eco lead. There were gaps in the economy as he's moving over to the new deer. I think Recon, that miss micro, not bringing out the extra troops, despite what he just done there, the window may be closing on him, right? Like, your Spearman count is not that high. Your Ghazi count is nothing now. At a point in the game where you could punish your opponent more easily. And although Beastie lost a lot of archers, he still kept a nice backline, and he's got more knights coming. And these knights have proven to be a pain in the ass. Just a little bit of eco damage here and there adding up. I'm afraid Recon may need to consider Castle Age here. The problem with playing this Feudal Age too long is attack speed aside, it just kind of doesn't matter against knight scaling with better economy, right? And this is better economy. Like, this is French in a nutshell. Gradually get more villages after playing long feudal. And get more villages by killing the enemy ones. Recon. What? On a Civ that can build walls with their military units, he sent the villagers to do it. 2 more chopped down. And somehow, someway, this game is starting to slip away from Recon. Beastie is doing something pretty incredible here. This game was pushing towards a point where he was just going to lose. After he lost that first group of knights, it looked fairly straightforward for Recon to just send it down the center. But Beastie's chipped away at him, slowed him down. Now at this stage, I think he's going to force Recon to just go castle. I think Recon understands quite well that, like, this matchup is going against him over time. So he is going to look for that tech up, but that proposes an opportunity to Beastie. The army that Recon has isn't going to upgrade quickly. He's got 4 scholars to his name, so if he does rush Castle Age, don't expect any of these guys to reach veterancy. Which means you're going to go for an age up, and your army's going to get no upgrade value out of it. And that's also scary, because even if they did, right, the archer count is so big that if that veterancy somehow got through, you'd probably be overkilling, and you're being overkilled anyway by these archers already. Recon actually highlighted this himself when he was in the chat the other day, that he feels like when you rush Castle Age and you've got, like, archer races going on, that's the one situation where upgrading archers doesn't feel as valuable as just building more archers, is when you're versus other archers. Because you kill everything too fast. So, like, you're probably not getting any value out of the bonus damage, because you've got 5 extra units shooting the same target anyway. Alright, what do you think, guys? 2s if you believe in Recon, 1s if you believe in Beastie here. Because this lead is getting quite sizey for Beastie. Usually we talk about the quality of the Delhi, but between the number difference here and the fact that French have one of the best feudal qualities, which is knights, and the count is kind of similar to the Ghazi, it's a pretty good position for Beastie. Woodwalling effective against raiding? Yeah, but here's an interesting thing. The longer this feudal age goes on, the worse it gets for Recon, because you either have to take a decisive fight, or you're eventually both going to reach pop and then tech up. Here's the big difference. If the French reach pop and tech up, Beastie is going to have about probably close to 20 knights. If he techs up, it's going to be with the Royal Institute. And that is how you get the win. You're talking about a matchup where one side has the same tempo control via the upgrades, the other can't upgrade quick enough. That was a sick little pinch there. And that's exactly what we were talking about, like, with Ghazi in the past. The idea in this matchup is that you just zerg and catch the raiders. I think Beastie needs to stop looking for chip damage and look for a main fight. Because every time he looks for chip damage, it's costing him. Beastie looking to go in. Ambitious choice here. A 14 villager lead, but he wants more. Interesting. Beastie's suspicious that Recon's stacking up, and oh, big mistake made there. More villagers getting sniped. All of a sudden, it's a 16 eco lead. Recon trying to get this around. Spearman on the front, though. All they need to do is brace and hold here of the Ghazi. Archers are following this up, though, and Knights are going to have to commit. Spearman count is not high for Recon, though. These Knights are a problem. They did not get their charge out, but they are tanky. They are absorbing, and they're absorbing all the blows required here. I think there's no doubt about it, guys. Beastie just won the game. Recon, the eco lead, has just gotten 2 against him here. A few chips here or there, and the eco inflation of the French It's going to win out. Yeah, it's just archers versus archers. This is a double up. At this stage, I don't see any way back in for Recon. It's a shame as well, actually. It's a heartbreaker. I think if Recon had rallied his troops to the front line instead of keeping them at home, we probably would have looked at a GG the other way. Beastie was very much up against the ropes when that attack came towards his base. Had Recon had the full power of his military force diving in, there's no doubt in my mind he would have broken through. And he would have also blocked out the deer and the boar that kept Beastie in this game. But now, well, the past is the past. Since that moment, Beastie, he saw that his opponent dropped the ball. He didn't hesitate to pick it up and take over. And I can't believe this. This is a 21-minute game in which, correct me if I'm wrong, folks, I don't think we've seen a sacred site captured once. This is the closest he's come. Beastie, at this point, I don't think you even go castle. I mean, you could. You don't necessarily need to. It's probably the safest way, right? Just get these archers upgraded. At that stage, you don't even need knights anymore. And then you just build rams. You won't get there, though. GG gets called. Beastie, showing us that French do have some tricks up their sleeve still.